Hey, Washington Commanders fan, it's your go-to expert here, and today we're diving into a hot topic that's been buzzing around the NFL. You know that feeling that something big might be about to happen? Well, stick around until the end of this video because we're going to explore whether our team should go all in on signing a Pro Bowl wide receiver. We're talking about a player who's already made a lot of noise in the league and is now on the Commanders' radar. Trust me, you don't want to miss this full analysis because the future of our offense could depend on it. But before we jump headfirst into the topic, let me ask you something. Are you subscribed to the channel? If not, hit that subscribe button because here, you'll always stay updated on everything going on with the Commanders. Plus, when you ring the bell, you'll never miss a video with the latest hot news. And of course, drop a like if you're already enjoying this, because now it's time to dive into the real talk. We've got a lot to discuss. Losing Curtis Samuel to the Buffalo Bills in the offseason was one of those blows that makes you wonder what's next. After all, Samuel was our number 2 wideout, a guy who brought a different dynamic to the field and had a solid partnership with Terry McLaurin. Now, with him gone, what's left of our receiving corps? We have McLaurin, who needs no introduction, but who else is going to step up? Jahan Dotson, our first-round pick, Dyami Brown, who's heading into his 4th year, and the rookie Luke McCaffrey, who just arrived with a lot of expectations. The big question is this group enough to help Jaden Daniels lead the offense? And that's where Bleacher Report's suggestion comes in. They're saying our team should consider bringing in Michael Thomas to bolster the squad. Thomas, as most of you probably remember, was one of the best receivers in the league not too long ago. In 2019, he led the NFL with over 1,700 receiving yards. That's elite stuff. But the truth is, in recent years, he's struggled with injuries. And last season, for example, he only played 10 games for the Saints, with numbers that are far from what he used to produce. He had 39 receptions, 448 yards, and just 1 touchdown. So the question is it still worth betting on Thomas? I know many of you are probably thinking that at 31, Thomas might be in the declining phase of his career, and I won't deny it's a valid concern. But we need to consider that even with those modest numbers last season, just having him on the field could force opposing defenses to rethink their strategies. And that, folks, is something you can't ignore. If Thomas can stay healthy and recover some of what he's shown before, he could be the missing piece to give our offense more options and maybe even free up more space for McLaurin to shine. Another interesting point is the experience Thomas would bring to a receiving group that, aside from McLaurin, is quite young. Just imagine the impact he could have on the development of Dotson, Brown, and McCaffrey. Having someone like Thomas to teach the tricks of the trade, share the insights on positioning and reading defenses, could be incredibly valuable, not to mention the confidence he could bring to Jaden Daniels. We all know a young quarterback needs reliable targets, and Thomas, at his best, is exactly that. But let's not kid ourselves. Bringing in Thomas comes with its risks. His recent injuries are a legitimate concern, and his age, while not a definitive factor, is something to consider. But if the Commanders decide to bring him in, could the on-field payoff outweigh the potential setbacks? This is the kind of move that could define a team's season for better or worse. Bleacher Report thinks it's worth the risk, and I want to know what you think about it. I think one of the most important points to discuss is the cost-benefit of this signing. The Commanders aren't exactly swimming in cap space, so any addition to the roster needs to be carefully considered. If Thomas comes in, can he provide the immediate impact we so desperately need, or would we be better off investing in other areas of the team? These are the questions the front office needs to weigh before making a decision. The truth is, we're at a point in the season where any reinforcement could be the difference between a mediocre campaign and a playoff run. With the NFC East becoming more competitive, any advantage we can gain could make all the difference. And that's why this possible signing of Michael Thomas needs to be analyzed with great caution. It's not just about a big name, but how he would fit into our system and how he could elevate the level of our offense. Now, tapping into that fan side that we all have, who wouldn't get excited about the idea of seeing a player of Thomas's caliber wearing our jersey? Just imagine that moment when he makes a clutch catch in a tight game, or when he breaks out for a long play. These are the moments we live for, and bringing in a guy like him could bring back that wow factor to our offense. However, we need to be realistic. Signing Thomas doesn't automatically guarantee we'll have an unstoppable offense. The chemistry with Jaden Daniels, adapting to the new scheme, and of course his health, are all factors that need to fall into place for this signing to have the impact we're hoping for. And deep down, that's the beauty of sports, right? The unpredictability, the unknown, the thrill of what's to come. and the passion we all share in following it. Now, let's talk about some breaking news that's going to leave some fans shocked and others scratching their heads. Get ready, because what we have to share isn't just any piece of news. It's a change that could shake up the direction of our season. Alright, let's get straight to it. The Washington Commanders have just made a roster move that caught a lot of people by surprise. After the loss in the first preseason game against the New York Jets, where we saw our starters work hard for a while, the team's management decided to shake things up. And it wasn't just any change. They decided to release kicker Ramiz Ahmed and brought in veteran wide receiver Martavis Bryant, a name with a controversial and tumultuous history. This signing is already generating buzz. For those who don't know or remember, Martavis Bryant has been out of the NFL since 2018, when he was suspended indefinitely for violating the league's substance abuse policy. Yes, you heard that right. After a long period away from the field, he had his suspension lifted last year and signed with the Dallas Cowboys, where he spent last season on the practice squad. Now, at 32, he seems ready for a fresh start, and the Commanders have decided to bet on his talent. But the burning question is, will this gamble pay off? The last time we saw Bryant on the field was 5 years ago, and since then, a lot has changed in the NFL. The league has become faster, more physical, and of course, more competitive. Bringing in a player who hasn't officially stepped on the field in so long is, at the very least, risky. On the other hand, we know Bryant's talent was never in question. When he was in shape, playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, he showed he could be one of the best at his position. His speed, reach, and ability to break tackles made him a constant threat to opposing defenses. Let's dig a little deeper into this signing. Bryant isn't just any name. In his first few seasons in the league, he showed flashes of brilliance that few wide receivers can match. With a total of 17 touchdowns in just 36 games, he left a significant mark, especially when playing alongside Ben Roethlisberger on the Steelers. But what can we expect from him now? Does he still have enough in the tank to face the league's top corners? This doubt hangs over the minds of all fans. On one side, we have those who believe Bryant could be an excellent addition to our receiving core, especially if he can regain the physical and mental form that put him at the top of the league a few years ago. On the other, there are those who question whether it's worth betting on a player with such a complicated history, especially considering the impact he might have in the locker room and on team chemistry. After all, we're talking about a player who's been out of the competitive loop for years and will have to show much more than just flashes of talent to earn everyone's trust. Another important point to consider is how the Commanders plan to use Bryant in the offensive scheme. Will he be just a practice squad reinforcement, a rotation option, or are there more ambitious plans for him? With the preseason still ongoing, we'll have the chance to see how he performs in practice and maybe in a few snaps in the upcoming games. So what do you all think? Leave your comments on how this addition could impact our team. But regardless of where Bryant fits in, one thing is certain: he won't have an easy time. The competition for roster spots on the Commanders is fierce. We have a group of young, talented wide receivers who are fighting hard to secure their place. Bryant's presence could bring extra pressure, but it could also be exactly what we need to elevate the group's level. Remember, in the NFL, nothing is guaranteed and every practice counts. So, folks, keep an eye out because this competition promises to be one of the most interesting of the preseason. And speaking of offense, we need to remember that the NFL is a league where second chances are rare, but when they come, they're precious. Bryant knows this might be his last chance to show he can still contribute at a high level. He's not just playing for a spot on the Commanders roster, but also for his career. If he can stand out, he could completely change the narrative around his name, and maybe, just maybe, leave a legacy of redemption. But if he fails, it could be the end of the line. So folks, do you think he'll manage to turn things around? And don't forget to subscribe to the channel because this season promises, and you won't want to miss a single detail. We want to hear from you, so leave your comments, share your expectations, and stay tuned, because the Washington Commanders are just starting to rev up for a season that promises to be unforgettable. Let's follow every step of this journey together and hope that this new addition to the roster is exactly what we need to take our team to the top.